Hi, everybody. This is Jim Havlin. So, as part of our look into feedback, we want to look at the quarterly feedback we're giving people and how we're measuring their performance as a member of this team. And it has a couple of parts to it. The first part we want to talk about is determining whether they're the right people for this organization. It is completely doable that you found someone who's amazing at the job that you have for them, but they just don't fit. They're corrosive with everybody else. There's always drama around them, and that's not okay. Your job as a hiring manager, as a leader, is to kind of weed out the people that are kind of grist in the mill, that are rubbing against everyone the wrong way. That's not really your job. Is to find people that are great performers and that don't expect them to behave like everyone else has to behave. Your job is to make sure that you've got hired the right people, and put them in the right seats. And the right people for us is they really fit the organization like a glove. They fit our culture, and our core values are supposed to be figuring that out. And hopefully you've determined a way of measuring above the bar, which means that when we look at our core values and how we measure them, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But they represent the core values most of the time on some of them, some of the time on the other ones. They don't ever behave in a way that's against the core values. Then we want to make sure that they're in the right seat. And you can find people that are amazing members of the team. We're so glad that they're here. They really are part of the culture, but they aren't necessarily in the right seat. And either they have to be in a different seat, or we have to redesign work. But ultimately, we want people to be both right people and right seat. In my practice, we call this hell yes. When they're really hell yes, when there's no question about it, oh my God, that is an amazing thing. That's when amazing things happen. That's when we get a chance to have people be A players and have them really, enjoy their work and be celebrated for it. If you don't have both, it's not going to happen. So we want to make sure that they are based on our CCC. We'll talk more about that in a second. They really belong in that seat. That's a great place for them, at least for the next 6 to 9 months. More details to come. And are they honoring their commitments around their KPIs and their rocks? Are they doing the work that we expect them to get done? So they can be great people that really belong here, and they can be a great fit for the seat, but maybe something happens and they're not able to execute in the way we need them to do. And so we should be giving them feedback on their execution, and that can take lots of different roles. But I want to answer all those questions. I want to give us both clarity as to whether or not they're right people, they're right seat, and they're executing on the right things. So let's look at what that looks like. First of all, we look at the core values fit. And you can see here, there's some sample core values. These aren't your core values. 3 to 7, less is more until it's not. In our system, we typically have a couple of different parts of core values. There's usually a word or phrase. Then there's a slightly longer description, usually a sentence, maybe 2. And then there's a core value speech. Here we have represented the first 2 parts of that. But we want to be able to think about each of our team members and say, when I think about their performance over the last 90 days, the last quarter, have they demonstrated these core values most of the time, some of the time, or rarely? That is that plus minus rubric that I think they'd use in EOS, they use in a lot of different systems. Plus meaning most of the time they are demonstrating this core value. We don't expect anyone to do it all the time, but we expect that some of our people are going to be doing it most of the time. Most of the time, am I getting smart stuff done? Most of the time, am I executing teamwork the way we expect teamwork to happen in this organization? What does that specifically mean to us? Are they demonstrating work together to create alignment, utilize each other's skills, collaborate so we're all learn and grow, right? That's what it means to us. And can I say that I can think of 3 times that they've actually done that, 3 examples? That's when they get a plus. When they do it sometimes, but not necessarily all the time, like you can think of, I can think of sometimes they've done it, but I think sometimes that they maybe didn't make the right choice. Maybe that's a plus minus. And unfortunately, if you can't think of any time that they've actually done it, and you can maybe think of a time when they've done the opposite, and usually you want to be able to think of 3 of them. 3 times they demonstrated the anti-value, or they've had opportunities. You can think of examples of opportunities where they should have demonstrated this value and they didn't. That's going to be a minus. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get a core value strike. And we talked about 3 strikes in a previous video, but it does mean that we're going to have a tough conversation about, do they really align with this value, and what do we need to have happen for me to see them demonstrating that value on a regular basis? If you're being a good leader and coach to this person, you have enough visibility in what they're doing, that you should have a pretty good idea on whether they're really aligning to the values in the things that they do. It isn't what their heart says; it's about what they do every day about what that thing, and that really speaks to the alignment around core values. So each one of these things, plus, plus, minus, minus, some combination of pluses and plus minuses. That's really what you want to have. If there's going to be a minus, then there's a possibility they're going to get a strike, but you're going to talk about it first. So you're going to, at the quarterly conversation, the output of this, after you've done this assessment, either on whatever software it is or in 90, and we'll look at a little bit of what that looks like later, you will determine, hey, I think this might be a core value strike for you. Let's talk about it. And if they don't have a good counter for your 3 examples, if you're not missing something, it probably is a core value strike. All right. Now let's talk about the other side of this. This is the seat fit. And here's an example of a seat. And this is in a seat, when it's well designed, in our opinion, it's got 3 to 7, less is more until it's not, specific things that this person's responsible for. And you can see those are counted 1 through 6 in this instance. And then there's a description of what it looks like to be good at that. And if possible, what's the way we would measure success? Even if we're not measuring that KPI, we have a way of measuring success in that seat. And there's 3 questions we ask. Do they have that competency? Am I asking you to do something you don't have the competency for? Like if you're asking me to play center for the Knicks, that's not going to go well. I'm not that tall, so I don't have that competency. I couldn't do it. Do I have a commitment? Am I trying to be great at this? Do I want to be amazing at this right now? Do I want to be superlative at it? And the capacity, am I missing something that would help me get there? Some experience or a basic skill that I need to develop to be good at this. And hopefully you're saying yes, yes, yes. I mean, that's really right. Fit, with the seat is about 3 yeses here. Now, sometimes you can say yes, yes, and not yet. You can see here we've got yes, maybe, and no as the possibilities for each of these things. You can see if we go down there to lead, manage, and hold accountable, then this is an instance where maybe I haven't seen enough to know. So maybe that's why it's a maybe, or gosh, I think you could do much better at this. I don't think you're meeting up to our standards here. And as I'm going to coach you through that, that might be a way to talk about maybe. So yes, yes, and maybe might mean a not yet at that point. Hey, I don't think you're there yet. Let's work on this together. And that's going to be a rock between us to get you better at this, because I don't want to go any longer than a quarter with you in anything more less than yes, yes, yes. Now, the other one here, the self-directed learning resources. What we discovered in this one, I picked this instance. Hey, I don't really know how to make these self-directed learning resources. That's probably and I'm going to say, no, you don't have the capacity to do it, but that's on me because I gave you this assignment and I didn't give you the resources and training you needed to get there. So I'm going to say no, because you're not going to meet your metrics on that. You probably had a certain number of videos you had to make this year or this quarter. I happen to know that's the case here. And gosh, we didn't do a good job of supporting you in that. So that's what that no is going to mean. But I really want to make sure I've asked the questions and answered them honestly so we can have that conversation and then take appropriate action afterwards. We want to kind of talk about the bar now. So, they're also in the tool, in the 90 tool, you see my good friend Scott is there, and coach and trainer. I could give him a test right now, very simply. There's all the fit check. They're just really quickly off the top of my head. Hey, if I had questions about it, hey, is he aligning with the core values? Do they have the CCs figured out? How do I answer those questions? Not a full thing, but I can do it anytime. And if I have a question about somebody, about their performance right now, I might start here. I start with this, like, well, let's make sure they're still right person, right seats. And that's what these two things offer, is right people, right seats. And I have that next to it, some bullet points here about data. So the data that goes into this, and when I bring it into the quarterly conversation, the quarterly performance review, I want to be able to look at rocks, do's, and KPIs. That's beyond the fit check. This is like really looking at your performance and seeing are the things that we're measuring, are they capturing your performance, and yes, you're doing all the right things. So the rock completion for teams is expected to be at 90% every quarter, and sometimes it takes a while to get there, or 90% for company rocks or department rocks, and 80% overall. And for you individually, we expect you to get 80% of your rocks done on time quarter after quarter. That's the expectation. And part of that's getting better at managing how big the rocks are and getting better and better at scoping the rocks. When we give you the rock and then we tell you to go make it smart. Hey, have you thought about the scope enough to make sure you've got time for it? Have I protected enough time to get the work done? So I want to teach you to learn to plan your work and work your plan. And this is really great feedback on that. Am I giving you rocks that are actually in things you can actually get done based on who you are and what your status in the organization and what your capabilities are? That's why we want to have conversations about that. To-do completion rate. Now, to-do, as a reminder, in our system is all about take responsibility for something to this team. So we're in a meeting. Hey, we need to go learn more about that. There was an issue or a topic we talked about. Someone's got to go gather some more information and bring it back to the team. Did I do that on time? And we expect that 90% of the time you are delivering back your to-dos that commitment you make to this team on time. Now, when I give someone a to-do, I always ask them, when can you have that done by? And I know this because it's important, because I've had teams that were bad at this, bad at on-time delivery, because they would be too optimistic about when they can get things done. And that's a natural part of what happens there. So the tool 90, if you're using that, when you take the to-do, it will tell you whether you got it done, whether you got it done on time or not, and which things have you just languished at or you deleted without getting done. But this is a great opportunity to discuss time management and give some of that coaching around getting better at the smallest chunk of work that we're trying to manage, which are the to-dos. And then KPI compliance. So everyone on the team should have a handful of KPIs. As we showed you the seat design, that every one of your roles, responsibilities could have a couple different ways of measuring it. You should have some of those that we're keeping track of all quarter long, and 11 to 13 of those you should be in the green, and because you're managing those numbers. You should be the best you possibly can, making sure that those numbers are appropriate, that they're achievable, and that you're making sure that we're addressing that stuff. And if not, we should have a conversation. And sometimes the numbers are just, hey, it's outside your control, or it's we didn't pick a compliance zone for that number. Like, hey, you're asking me to make 15 million calls a day. There's no way I'm making 15 million calls a day. Let's come up with a more appropriate number. That's the right conversation to have. And that's really the point. We're asking all the right questions to make sure that we're in the right zone with all these things. All right. Next bit, we'll talk about the leadership and coaching part of this.